Welcome, Cancer and Cancer Cross Watchers, to your monthly love reading. So, hope you guys have had a great day. Oh, I'm just going to make sure my deck's not upside down. And of course, thank you for stopping by my channel today. So, we have the High Priestess reversed for what's in your headspace, King of Pentacles, Ace of Swords, and Six of Wands for what's in your heart space, and actions or intentions towards this person. Cancer. Okay, yeah, there's two cards here. We have the Seven of Pentacles and Page of Cups. I think another sign had that Page of Cups. If I can remember it, I'll make a note in the exact same spot. I'll make a note in the description box. Wow. So in your person's headspace about you, we have the Death card, the Empress, and the Four of Swords. Headspace. We have the Knight of Swords. I'm just going to make sure nothing else flipped over. And their actions or intentions. Hanged Man and Six of Cups. And the situation between you guys is the Six of Swords and Ten of Wands with the Eight of Swords at the bottom of the deck. So we're going to start with your person. So, really interesting combination there. Cancer, it actually feels like there's a lot of emotion coming from your person. It almost feels like they are ready to burst into tears, I want to say. And it feels like there's something that's being taken away from them. It feels like whatever's being taken from them is pushing them into this exceedingly contemplative energy. And I feel like as they're kind of going through that process, it's like once they hit that contemplative energy, it all comes back to you. I'm kind of hearing like, and the future they would have with you, the future they would have had, however that applies to your situation, right? It's almost like this person is trying to decide if what their next move is here. It feels like they may seem a little bit cold sometimes. It feels like the type of person that if something's going wrong or really challenging for them, that they kind of retreat into themselves. They get a little icy. Not in that they're rude or anything, but it just feels like they really pull away. What's interesting is that their heart wants to, get this, wants to get the ball rolling, wants to get the show on the road. The Knight of Swords is about, it's almost like the quintessential inconvenient truth, right? I feel like the reality of something here is kind of, it's almost like there's a voice in this person's head that's trying to scream the truth at them. And I feel like they're up here like, no, you know what? I think I'm just going to take some time. I think I'm going to think about it. And it's almost like their heart is, or their emotional state is starting to get not erratic necessarily, but it's almost like the pressure is building, right? Like before a volcano erupts, and I'm assuming here, I don't actually know this for sure, but it's like, well, before the volcano erupts, right? It's like there's pressure and pressure and pressure and pressure. And I feel like they keep trying to logic their way or think their way through it. And it definitely feels like there is some sort of protective element. It doesn't feel like it's that they're just protecting themselves. They feel like there's something else that they have to protect, and it's like they're trying not to spring into action about it. I do feel that their mind is, that they do have control over themselves. They do have control over the emotional actions that they take. Um, it actually feels like it when this person when they get cold, at least in this specific situation, it's actually so they can maintain control of themselves. So their actions or intentions towards you. Um, I mean, the Hanged Man talks about getting a different perspective. It's like a choosing to hold up the process or choosing to have a bit of a delay so you can see things clearly. And then, of course, the Six of Cups talks about those really sweet memories when, or nostalgia, right? Sometimes it's related to childhood, but not everybody has a childhood that brings nostalgia. So sometimes that's not the right meaning, right? Anyway, I'm rambling. In this situation, it feels like this person seems to escape the whatever's going on here by kind of retreating into their memories from the past. You know what I mean? It's like when they need a break from the heaviness of the situation, they kind of revert back to whatever memories bring that kind of like happy, nostalgic feeling that leaves them feeling refreshed. So, obviously, in this situation, there are certain things that they're holding on to, not in like a negative way, where they're holding on to resentment and stuff like that. It just feels like there's certain, um, I almost want to say they're holding on to this, whatever it is from the past. And I feel like it's actually because it's a bit scary to let it go. I want to say, like, if they let that go, then it's almost like they're in this energy of like, well, then what's the base? What's the foundation? You know what I mean? It's the kind of energy where, maybe someone's childhood home was sold, or it feels like the foundation that this person has based themselves on is disappearing or is leaving, and they're having to stand without feeling like there's something behind them supporting them. And it's not that they can't do it, and it's not even that they think they can't do it. It's just a very different, disorienting um, feeling. It's almost like they're walking on like they're not teeter tottering, but when you're kind of walking on something that's very narrow, and you put your arms out to keep your balance, not the tightrope sort of thing, but um, just feeling like they're going to have to keep everything balanced themselves, and they know they can do it. They just need time to adjust, is what I'm hearing. Excuse me. So on your end here, we have the High Priestess reversed for what's in your headspace. Um, what's interesting is I actually feel like you may be blocking your own intuition right now because there's something that it's almost like there's this reality, this truth that you don't want to, feeling like if you allow your intuition, which is usually quite strong, to kind of take over here, or allowing that intuition in, I feel like you're concerned that you're going to get some information that you really don't want to get. You know what I mean? It's like if you're someone that's very, very intuitive and you can usually see things coming, part of you would rather be surprised than being left to anticipate what you know is going to happen anyway, if that makes sense. Like you would rather just not know. And I feel like maybe this is all of you, but I feel like it is at least some of you that, like, can you really ignore can you really not feel the intuition, or are you just catching those intuitive hits but you're ignoring them? Right? So it's almost like, may not be the actual situation, but it's like you're ignoring stuff that you actually already know. It's almost like you're just hoping it'll change before it happens, if that makes sense. Okay. So in your heart space, we have, oh, sorry, the card of, stability, truth, and receiving recognition. Whoops. Just, I'm looking at the cards, not the camera. Sorry. Um, Cancer, I feel like you are holding on to, you may not want to hear this. I actually feel like you're holding on to resentment from something in the past. And even though you know that if you let it go, you can really move on and have something that you want, it's like, it almost just feels like you're not done being angry about it. You know what I mean? It's almost like you don't want to, part of you doesn't want to let that go because you don't want to let somebody off that easy. It's almost like it's the energy of maybe you're not even fully angry about it anymore, but you have to kind of conduct yourself in a certain way so um, people don't think they can get away with that again. Is that kind of a thing? I think we're just going to pull a card on. Hold on. Yeah, let me do this deck. Can we get one card on that? King of Pentacles. Whoops. King of Pentacles. Okay. So we have the Star at the bottom of the deck, and then we have the King of Wands with the Ace of Pentacles. Oh, so I feel like you got screwed over in the past, but it ended up working out in your favor in the end. But it's like, but you still feel that you have to hold your ground with however you got screwed over. Um, so that, people don't start pulling that nonsense with you all the time, if that makes sense. I also kind of feel like you're holding on to it because whoever did it, like, you really don't like them. You know what I'm saying? It's that energy of, it's somebody that you can see is a snake in the grass. Sometimes snake talks about power and creation, but the flip side of that, we all know what connotation that carries, right? So it's like, I almost want to say the way this person did it was really sneaky and like they did it just because it worked out for you doesn't mean that they didn't do it with bad intentions, right? It doesn't change the intent of this person. And I feel like, and that's why you're holding on to it. Not necessarily because, oh, I didn't get this or I didn't get that or whatever, right? Because it worked out for you. It's that this person doesn't get to skate on the fact that it all worked out because there's still a snake. What I'm actually hearing is whatever you thought about this person, you're right. And I almost want to say it's important that you listen to your intuition in this aspect because there may be times, there may be people, there may be things that happen that make you be like, well, maybe. And I feel like as soon as you remember what actually happened here, that, well, maybe, it's like, no, it disappears. I want to say, this may be very specific. For some of you, this snake in the grass may have tried to team up with your person, but they did it in a way, it's like they were just trying to get close to your person rather than team up with them to like do something or create something. And it does not look like you're going to be forgetting that anytime soon. Doesn't mean that you're not going to let it go eventually. It just means that um, it's not something that you're going to throw to the side and not take into consideration when you're evaluating future situations, if that makes sense. So your actions or intentions, these two cards, one talks about kind of not so much like looking back at what you've done and be like, oh, it's so great. You're looking back and you're kind of evaluating how you've put things together. And I feel like there's going to be something, I'm sorry to say, But it's like you're looking back and you're trying to evaluate, like, did I put all these pentacles in the right spot in that bush? Am I happy with it? It's like, and then some bird comes by and craps on one of the pentacles. You know what I mean? It's like it just feels like, oh, you know what I mean? I feel like there's a bit of a delay here in you being able to evaluate your progress properly, like, right, because of the, bird poo. But it actually feels like there's either something that you are kind of working through that you need to realize, there's different information coming in, but it feels like your perspective needs to change before you can see it clearly. And I feel like it's actually through a lens of anger right now that is, it's almost kind of, it's stopping you from seeing those pentacles and the sparkle when the sun hits them. You know what I mean? And listen, it may be because you fought tooth and nail to do this, because you had to fight other people off, because there were, mountain lions or something that were circling your garden. Like there could have been, it may have been inappropriately difficult to do what you needed to do. And it definitely, it feels like it's, I almost want to say it's unfair, but it's not quite that. It feels more that it's, hold on for a second. It's like it was worth it, but you're still giving it some side eye, right? Like you're glad that you did it, but frick, it didn't have to be that hard. And it's almost like, and you've done all of this effort, but it still is only the beginning. And that is kind of what has brought about a bit of disdain for it. It seems to, not long standing disdain, but it's one of those things where um, like you told somebody to do something in a certain type of way and they didn't, and then they had to do it in the other type of way, but there's a lot of frustration for, like, well, why didn't you just listen to me the first time? Why didn't you just hear me out? Why didn't you trust what I was saying was correct? It's that energy of like, you've done this before, you've been through this before, you know what needs to happen. And for people to not listen to you, especially when it's, sound advice, it seems almost ludicrous that they would, cast it aside. So finally, we have the relationship situation here. So, Six of Swords with the Ten of Wands. The Ten of Wands talks about things getting as bad as they possibly can. And the Six of Swords talks about getting away from that type of energy. So, I feel like it's a beginning, it's a step in the right direction to get out of that type of energy. It just feels like there's, I almost want to say, there's things that need to happen on both sides of this connection in order for things to move forward. It's almost the energy of like, um, what's interesting is it's almost like you know what needs to happen on your end, and you know what needs to happen on their end for, you know, for this energy to come about. And it's almost like it's frustrating that people don't see things as quickly as you do. I feel like that's part of it. That because you're so intuitive and you see things really easily, I feel like that's where that frustration is coming from, right? It's like you know exactly what needs to happen or what kind of insight somebody needs in order for them to have the transformation. But it feels like in this situation, you giving them that knowledge, it's like they kind of have to come to it on their own. So it's almost the energy of you tell them what needs to happen. They don't do it because they're kind of, you know, I almost want to say like poo-pooing it to the side. And and then you end up being right in the first, you know what I mean? Like what you said in the first place. And I feel like it's this person kind of sheepishly it's almost like it doesn't feel like you're going to do the whole I told you so thing. It feels more that this person would come in and be like, yeah, you were right the whole time. So I think I'll leave it there, Cancer. If this reading resonated, I hope it was helpful. If you liked this reading, please like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. Much love. Bye.